Okay. All right. For those tuning in, how's it going? I'm just going to make sure that I can see myself and that everything is a-okay. Before I get started, if you can hear me, please let me know. Or even more importantly, if you can't hear me, please let me know. I'm going to look on this joint, make sure I can see myself so that I can respond if people have questions and whatnot. Share this to my personal page, and then we should be good to go. So yeah, everybody tuning in right now, if you can not hear me, please let me know. If you can hear me, please let me know. Just let me know you're there before I get started, because we all know how these lives can go with the technical difficulties and whatnot. I'm trying to make sure that I'm avoiding that on this here live. Okay, let me shut this down. Cool, I can see myself. Cool. Okay. I think I can see myself, I can hear myself. All right. Now I'm just going to share this to my page real quick, my personal page. And then we'll get started. Yama. Okay. So yeah, while I'm getting started, just giving people a second more to tune in, make sure that everybody's here. Yeah, I know I said I was gonna go within the hour, but there was some like technical difficulties as usual. Every time I'm trying like a different setup, trying to get everything get everything going, you know what I'm saying? So, oh, yeah, let me turn the volume down on my telefono so we can get started. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this live broadcast. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Billy Miles, and myself alongside with my wife and partner Monica Kay, we are the co-directors of Kizomba Harmony, which is a dance company based in Houston, Texas, although these days our reach and platform has become international. But we're based in H-Town, Houston, Texas. Good people. So, the title of this video is What Organizers Can Do to Fight Rape Culture and How You Can Hold Them Accountable. Now, why am I talking about this? For those who are in the dance community and have been buried under a rock, there have been a lot of things going on in the dance community, a lot of things being talked about, including but not limited to racism, systemic racism, Black Lives Matter, and things like that. But another one of the issues facing our community, and what to me is the most serious threat, is rape culture. And because there's been a new round of victims/survivors coming forward to talk about their experiences, there's been another firestorm of discussion. Now, for those who don't know, my partner Monica and I have been talking about rape culture and advocating against it and doing a lot of work since 2016. So we've been doing this for about 4 years now, and we've seen and experienced a lot. And so the reason that I'm doing this video is twofold. One, for those who are organizers, because let's face it, organizers in the dance community are probably in the positions of the most influence, right? Even more than artists in a lot of ways, because in many ways we're the ones who tend to, pay the artists, and therefore we have influence over the artists, who then have influence over the rest of the community. But also, this is also going to be what anybody can do to hold people who are organizers, including us, accountable. Because at the end of the day, and if you take nothing else away from this video, I want you guys to really understand and I guess embrace the fact that anybody who wants to take a stand can be a leader. You don't have to have a title. In fact, the healthiest scenes, the healthiest communities are those where everybody takes ownership on these issues, okay? Because it can't just be a handful of people doing this. It has to be everybody as a community doing this. But I'm going to start with organizers because we're in the position of influence. And I'm going to talk about the experiences that we have had as organizers in fighting this, because again, this is something that we've been doing and advocating for before Me Too, before it was a trend, before the bandwagons and all this stuff. We were doing it back when to speak out against this stuff often got you more hate than love, okay? So, before I begin, some of you might be wondering, what is rape culture? And I don't have the definition handy to have the nice, pretty definition, but basically, it's a societal construct, kind of like systemic racism. But whereas in systemic racism, people of color, and often, especially when it comes in the U.S. to systemic racism, people of African American descent are oppressed, not given due process and equal protection under the law. Rape culture is a social construct wherein sexual misconduct and violence, including but not limited to rape, is, if not encouraged, enabled, right? So it's called rape culture, but it's not just about rape. It's about any sexual misconduct, including inappropriate touching, sexual harassment, not respecting boundaries. Rape culture is when a woman comes to you and says, I've been sexually assaulted, and you say, well, what did you do to get in that position? Well, what were you wearing? Did you how were you acting? Were you being flirty? Things like this. Basically, it's a situation where the onus to prevent sexual assault and misconduct is placed on the people who are being harassed, being assaulted, rather than putting the onus on the actual perpetrators of the bad behavior, which is what it should be, okay? So that's basically what rape culture is. And it's not, again, before I begin, remember, I am not saying that this is specific or exclusive to the dance community. In fact, it is a societal issue worldwide. But since we are a part of the dance community, specifically the Kizomba community, because it is a smaller community and because we are in positions of influence, we're in a position to do so. And basically, our answer was to basically just create our own community and then work to keep all bad actors and toxic people out of it. And I will talk a little bit about our history and our efforts and how we got into it. Some of the things that we've had to deal with as a warning to others who are standing up and finding their voices. And then at the end, I'll talk about what you can do. And when I say you, I mean everybody, because it doesn't matter whether you are an artist, hey Loretta, a teacher, DJ, organizer, whatever. If you're just, and I say just, if you're just a social dancer, that doesn't mean that you don't have power, that you don't have influence. All you have to do is use your voice, take a stand, and therein you become a leader. And you guys have the power to hold even the organizers accountable. Often it's been the other way around. Organizers and artists are the ones who are kind of, people are afraid to speak out against them, when the truth is, it is you, the social dancer, the people who are paying for classes, paying for privates, paying to go to these events. It is you who have the most power, because you are the ones who are funding this entire industry. Without the people funding the industry, none of us, we'd all be out of a job, right? And I want you to remember that as I go through this. So, how did we realize rape culture was an issue, and how did we first start our advocacy, and what are things that you can do? Now, the first thing that you can do as an organizer, the most important thing, the simplest thing, but not necessarily the easiest thing you can do, is don't hire rapists, alleged rapists, accused rapists, predators, right? Don't hire people who harm others. It seems simple, right? It seems simple. But the truth is, practically speaking, it's not that easy, and I'll talk about why. And part of the reason why is that, if you look at the people who recently, the names have been floating around, most of the more serious predators out there are organizers. Okay, so when I said that organizers have a position of influence, as organizers, a lot of things we can do, but what happens, what happens when the bad actors are organizers or complicit? Because the truth is, you look at a lot of the organizers in our, not in our sphere of influence, but you look at a lot of the organizers in the dance community, a lot of them are either predators themselves or complicit. Because a lot of this stuff, maybe you as a dancer, some of these allegations and things, maybe it's news to you, but for many of us who've been behind the scenes, we've heard things, right? And it's just a lot of us chose to look the other way because it was convenient to maintain relationships with people rather than do the right thing, okay? So the first thing you can do as an organizer is don't hire them. So practically speaking, it's like, yeah, you could say this and that, but what does that actually mean? For us, what we decided to do is our standard, and our standard has changed over time. Because again, nuance, and we learn, and we're learning how to be better advocates and how to better, put these systems in place. But in the beginning, our stance was we are not going to hire sexual predators and bad actors. And our criteria was that we base it on credible firsthand accounts. Now, this is really important, practically speaking. This is very important. And the reason is because you have two conflicting interests here. On one, you want to do everything you can to be an advocate for victims and survivors. You want to do everything you can to hold bad actors accountable. You want to do everything you can to create safe and safer spaces. On the other hand, you don't want to, and this term is often used, and often it's used by people who are trying to protect predators, but the term witch hunt. You don't want there to be a witch hunt. Now, I will distinguish an actual witch hunt from a term, like an attempt to protect and circle the wagons around some of these predators, because there are a lot of predators right now that are being enabled by men and women, and that is their defense, right? Oh no, this is not a witch hunt, right? When the people being accused are not their friends or people who they have relationships with them, it's like, meh. But as soon as someone they know, or someone who they want a relationship with, or someone who they feel is going to pique their own opportunism, right? Hey, this shouldn't be a witch hunt, guys. That's not what the victims want. But we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about it because I'm getting sidetracked. Credible firsthand accounts, because if you don't have a standard, then it's very easy. For instance, for us, the reason that we decided on credible firsthand accounts is because we feel that especially because we're so aggressive and outspoken about condemning predators, we're far more aggressive than most, right? We really put ourselves out there and put our necks out there, put our brand out there, put our integrity, right? Our reputation on the line to advocate for these victims and survivors. We cannot do that if we don't hold ourselves to a standard too. So for us, we need firsthand credible accounts. That means that if we're talking about a predator and we're saying that we believe bad acts have occurred, it's because we have verified it with the victims and survivors. We know we know what happened. We know what's going on afterwards. We have a very good idea of what actually happened, and we've verified it, okay? If you don't have credible firsthand accounts, then all you really have is hearsay. And it's very easy to abuse that. And this is, something that happens. And it sucks because on one hand, some people take advantage of this. On the other hand, these bad acts are still happening, right? Because what's the first thing that a predator is going to say when they're accused of bad acts or bad conduct? What's the first thing they say? These are just haters who are trying to take me down because they don't like me or because they're my competition, right? And I will say, for one of the instructors and organizers who's been called out the most recently, there was a group of people who were using this because they didn't like him, because they saw him as competition, right? And they've been after him for years, right? Some of the same people who were after us once we started speaking out against another predator who was their friend. And to this day, they continue to defend one person while condemning another. And this is what I call selective advocacy, which is really just hypocrisy and opportunism. So you do have these hypocrites and opportunists. And the people I'm talking about are organizers that organize events and things like that as well, right? So you do have bad actors and shady people who are organizers engaging in this behavior, which is disingenuous and opportunistic. True, but that is not a justification, and that doesn't mean that the bad acts didn't actually happen, right? Because you could, one, actually be a predator like you've been accused, and also people who are just being opportunists, right? But again, this same thing has been used against us, and I'm going to talk about that in a second too. So if you don't have a standard of verification for the information that you're sharing, then, I mean, you're no better than the predator, right? Because it would be too easy for someone, like I just mentioned, like these organizers who are opportunists, who just want to kill their competition so they can just float, and they can float a rumor that isn't substantiated at all, name somebody, and now you really have a witch hunt, right? And that's wrong. And for us, we talk about integrity like it's a part of our motto: quality, integrity, inclusion, fun. We put integrity in our motto for a reason. If we don't have that verifiable standard, then that would make us, then we be the bad actors then, right? Now, some people in our community have been unhappy with that because maybe there are people in the community that they think are bad actors, but there's no verifiable firsthand accounts. If there's a verifiable firsthand account, we act on it. And, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that people have said in a second. But for us, it doesn't matter if you're a friend, and it doesn't matter if you're an enemy, right? If you are an enemy and you're also a bad actor, then we're going to call you out. If you're a friend and you're a bad actor, we're going to call you out, even if I like you, because we have canceled artists for far less than rape, even people that we had relationships with that we've learned from and like a lot. But if you engage in bad acts, wrong is wrong, and we can't very well speak out the way we do and allow some people to make it and some people not to. But that's our standard. Why? Because we have to be able to verify these stories. And because of that, a lot of survivors and victims have shared their stories with us. Now, again, people have to trust our word for our advocacy to work, right? So that means victims and survivors have to be able to trust that if they share information with us, we're not going to share more information than they want us to, for a number of reasons. And that, I'll get into this as well, some of the things that you have to deal with and some of the questions that you're going to be asked. Sometimes people ask, well, why are you being so vague, right? The reason is because if I don't have permission to share more than if I have permission to share this much, I'm going to share this much. If I have permission to share this much, I'm going to share this much. I can't share more than I've been given permission to, because to do so would be, well, it would be a profound lack of integrity, because I'd be betraying the trust of people who have confided in me, right? So we have to have those verifiable firsthand accounts. But on the other hand, because we have developed the trust with people, people often feel comfortable confiding with us. So if we're saying that we have verifiable firsthand accounts, even if I'm not telling you the name of the victim survivor, trust that we will not play with this. And I will talk again about some of the things that haters and predators have said to try to detract and deflect in a second, after I talk about how we kind of got into this advocacy. So our standard, and this is the standard that we would encourage that you all also take, is verifiable, credible firsthand accounts. And when you get those firsthand accounts, you have to, well, I'm not going to say you have to, but you should believe them and stand by these victims and survivors, okay? This is really, really, really important. Because if you don't do this, okay, if you don't do this, then you basically betray the trust of people who've confided in you, and you're basically allowing the predators to kind of get away with it a little bit, yeah? So, credible firsthand accounts, that's our standard. And so another thing that we do, and I'll talk about that in a second, is we have started actually calling out the organizers who hire predators and the events that are hired by predators. But I'm getting ahead of myself. How did we get into this, and how did we get the standard and things like this? So back in 2016, I did not realize that rape culture, I didn't really know a lot about rape culture. I didn't know the term rape culture. I'd heard some things, about some stuff that had been going down in the dance community, but I didn't think that it was, that big a deal. I didn't think that it was something that was really as pervasive and crazy as it is. And then about 4 years ago, there was a letter that was written. And in this letter, a survivor described an experience Yeah, Harvey, I'll address that in a second. Although I kind of just did, but yeah. Good, 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 good. It's very good though, because again, Harvey, we're gonna break this down and say, where is this rumor coming from? We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. So basically what happened was there was a letter that was circulated by a dancer, and in the letter she basically described, and I've talked about this before, but basically she described a sexual assault. And the reason that she kind of got in the position was because this guy is married, and because he was an instructor, she thought that she felt safe with him, went to his room to do some training, and according to the letter, he raped her. She did not establish any sort of consent, quite the opposite, and according to the letter, she was raped. Okay. Now, when I read this letter, I was extraordinarily floored, right? I didn't think that this was happening. I knew that people were like sleeping around and, but I thought it was all consenting adults doing what consenting adults do. I didn't think it was as bad as it is. And so I started speaking out. And when I first started speaking out, before I'd even heard of the letter, I had heard some rumors about who it might be. And the identity of this person is someone who I'd already butted heads with a lot before in the past, because basically everything that we've ever stood for, this guy stood against, right? So we've always butted heads because of constant toxic behavior, and we don't get along because we're exact opposite types of people, okay? So I'd heard things about this individual, and I was like, when I heard it, I was like, it doesn't surprise me because this is what sleazy people do. And this individual, in my opinion, is very sleazy, right? So I wasn't surprised. But on the other hand, the idea that someone who was in a position, a trusted position, okay, a trusted position has taken advantage of someone and hurt someone in this way. I was really heartbroken because I'd heard rumors, but again, you can't, rumors are one thing, but anybody can say anything, right? So I'm not going to get too much into he said, she said, rumor stuff like that, because again, anybody can say anything. But when I read this letter and I spoke out about it, and then I got more information from the victim survivor, and when I first started speaking out against this, nobody, especially no men, except for a small handful, actually had anything to say, okay? Had anything to say. So not only did we get blowback for speaking out, the victim and a lot of people who had come forward during that time were not supported, bullied, intimidated, threatened, right? And I'm going to talk about how these predators do this in a second, and then I'll address Harvey's question. It was not like it is now with Me Too. It's almost popular now to jump on a bandwagon and throw out a Facebook status in support. And when the letter first came out, a lot of people were starting to express a little bit of support until everybody realized that it was an organizer at the time of one of the bigger events in North America, right? So a lot of people at that point, when they realized who it was, someone known to be a bully and someone who's known to really attack people aggressively who go against him. Now, why is it that people who were saying rape is wrong for a second now change their tune, right? And why is it that a lot of people now, even now, who are starting to talk about rape culture is wrong, still supporting this individual, this predator? Okay. Well, here's the thing that you have to understand about predators, at least the very successful one. Successful predators are world-class manipulators. And this one in particular, and I'm going to talk about this one in particular for a number of reasons. One, because this letter was the first time that I read an account of a survivor in the dance community, okay? It wasn't the only one. when we started speaking out, someone else came. Other people came with stories about other predators in the scene. And the first time I went live in 2016 to talk about this, I said, it's not just about one person. Now, again, this predator and his enablers went on the offensive as saying Billy doesn't like me and that's why he's doing this. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, because anybody who's going to be an advocate against these manipulators, you have to know their tools so that you can combat them. Okay? They said it's personal and vendetta just about one person. I've said from 2016 there's more than one predator. I've said from 2016 it's not just about one person. Okay? It's just on one account I was given permission to speak out to a certain level. On the other, I was not given permission to speak out. Now that other person has been outed by a bunch of women, so now I can speak on it a bit more. But at the time, I didn't have the permission to, but I was advocating as much as I could while respecting the wishes of the victims, okay? So when the letter came out, I started speaking out. There was a lot of backlash. And the story was, Billy doesn't like me for blah, blah. Well, actually, the reasons that I don't like the individual were obscured, right? That's the relevant information, but that's, again, that doesn't fit the narrative that these predators want to do, okay? So the successful predator is a very talented manipulator. Now, what are the tools of manipulators? Obviously lies, right? Have you ever seen someone accused of rape or sexual assault that says, yes, I did it, I'm wrong? I'm still trying to think of one who actually owns their shit. They all say, I didn't do it, even as more and more people come forward, right? Now, should you need 10, 15 women to come forward for you to believe that somebody was raped or assaulted or harassed? No, you shouldn't. But even with those overwhelming odds, you will have people who will still try to, deny it, right? Now, how do these manipulators do it? Well, the more effective manipulators will use one or more of all these tools. One being bribery, flattery, threats and intimidation, deflection, right? Projection, gaslighting, coercion, pity. That pity that's a zinger, because a lot of these predators are bullies until they come against someone, say like me, who's very aggressive. Then they play the victim, right? So someone who has been known to disrespect other people, be shady, and now prey on people sexually, is now trying to play the victim. Oh, poor little me. They're just trying to attack me, and all I'm trying to do is just, share my passion and do, right? They become victims, and then their people in their bubble will pity them. What they basically do is they get a bubble of what I call minions or sycophants or enablers, basically. And these enablers will believe, they'll drink the Kool-Aid, okay? Now, again, part of me is frustrated with some of these enablers and minions, okay? But on the other hand, again, the reason that my eyes were open to this person is because he came at us super sideways, and then we got to see who he really is, right? A lot of these people, they project this image on social media. And again, some people say the same thing about me, right? Like me being a good and honorable man is something I do for Facebook, even though I've been like this for my entire adult life. Like, this isn't a show for me. This is who I am. I'm an honorable guy. It's not about being better or perfect, but I have integrity in that I hold myself accountable. When I fall short, I own my shit and I do better. And because of that, I always grow. But people like this have no integrity. So it's all about putting up this appearance and doing whatever you can to maintain this persona, no matter what you're doing behind the scenes, right? Sorry, I got off track. So, so these tools, right? You get this bubble of minions and sycophants, and then you feed them. You feed them all this BS, right? It could be anything. I'm just trying to protect my culture, or, that's one that a lot of people use, the culture, okay? You'll hear that a lot with a lot of bad actors, and they will justify their disrespect, inappropriateness, unprofessionalism behind defending a culture, which is complete BS, right? Because if you really want to defend or protect a culture, you will set a good example. But very few of the people actually beating the drum of culture are actually defending their culture in a respectable way. But I got sidetracked. So you have these manipulators that they get their circle of people, okay? And they feed them whatever, and they don't really let the mask slip with these people. The people who see the mask slip are people who make them feel threatened. And for us, I didn't see the mask slip until we started being seen as leaders in our own right. When our profile started to rise, when we were seen as thought leaders, when people were starting to see us as authorities somewhat in Kizomba, that's when this individual went on the offensive, right? So, and I say all this so you understand how hard it is sometimes to see through the BS that these predators spew. Right? When I realized that this person was really just about, doing anything to take or get what he wants, that's when my eyes are open and I realized, okay, this is not a good person. This is not a person who stands for anything other than opportunism and money, influence, power, period. That's it. So that was when my eyes were opened. But if you're out there in the dance community and you never do anything to make any of these predators feel threatened, because you're mediocre or because you never stick your neck out or for whatever reason, because you're not outspoken, you'll never see this side, right? And that's why sometimes it can be very difficult for advocates, because many of the people who are predators, when you call them out, a lot of people say, what, but it never did anything to me. It was always so nice. Well, predators are going to be nice, especially when they can get something from you, right? It's only a select few people who are going to see them with the mask off. And I've seen a lot of people with the mask off because I've made a lot of people feel threatened because of the quality of our product, because of our outspokenness, and for a lot of reasons. I've piqued a lot of insecurities with a lot of the people who are in positions of influence in the dance community, and therefore I've seen things that the average person is not going to see, right? So when I saw this, and I realized that this individual was so toxic. And then on top of that, I read this letter and realized that not only was this person disrespectful and shady, but also a sexual predator. I was like, I'm too through. Dude is done. And I very aggressively started speaking out, saying that anybody who would hurt people, and it wasn't just this individual, again, it was another, but I couldn't talk as much about the other one because I didn't have permission. Now I can talk about it a little bit more, which is great, because as soon as I started speaking out, the story, and to this day, people are still spouting this foolishness, that our advocacy on rape culture was about trying to take one person down. Now, one thing you have to understand, and this is important, because even recently, when the predator who got outed by 5, 10 different women, the first thing he said was, these are just my haters trying to take me down because they don't like me. And some of them were just haters who were trying to take him down because they don't like him. But that doesn't mean that he didn't engage in the bad behavior, right? It's two separate issues. Even if other people are being shady towards you, that doesn't mean that you haven't been engaging in bad behavior your damn self, right? In our case, though, no, that's not how we do. If I don't support someone because I feel they're toxic, I'm going to say, I don't support this person because I feel they're toxic. I'm not going to make up a story, I'm not going to make up or play with something as serious as a rape just to try to take someone down. I don't have to, right? I don't have to compete that way. I compete on quality, right? That's what we're all about. Quality, integrity, inclusion, fun, right? I don't need to compete that way. But again, for people in this group, many of whom don't like us anyway, and you have to also understand, if you're someone who's already resented, and people are looking for a reason to not like you and you can't say anything, right? Ask anyone in the dance community, has Billy ever wronged you in any way? Has Billy ever been out there disrespecting people, misusing people? You're going to get a no. But why don't you like me? Because I'm confident. I believe in myself. I have talent, and I'm not fake humble. I own my talent. Because we have achieved success even though we're not a part of any of these cliques, the leaders of whom want to be gatekeepers. If anyone achieves success without going through the gatekeeper, they're going to resent that, right? because people are insecure, right? I've been outspoken criticizing bad behavior in the community for 6 years. So if you've engaged in some of that bad behavior, you're not going to like me. But you can't really come up with a legitimate reason not to like me other than your insecurity or what I call bitch-assness, right? But nobody wants to own that, right? Very few people have the maturity to own their own foolishness. So what do? You look for a reason to dislike someone. And usually the thing that people will say is they're arrogant, right? All my confident people out here, you will hear this. And if you're an advocate who's also confident, this is something that people are going to say about you. In this case, if someone doesn't like you and somebody is attributing some sort of shady behavior to them, you're liable to believe it, right? If you don't like person X and someone comes to you and says person X is shady, well, you're going to want to believe it, whether or not it's true, because that justifies your own petty resentment. And that is something that we've had to deal with a lot of petty resentment. Not because we've wronged anyone, but because we're successful and happy and aren't a part of any of these cliques, right? So this is what people were saying. Billy is, even like 2 months ago, I saw people, and again, these are people who don't even really know me, right? But they want to speak on my values, right? And I guess what I realize is, for me to use something like rape to tear somebody down, if I didn't believe they actually did something, that's so far to my character that I can't believe anybody would even say that. Like, to me, that is so foul. I know people, a lot of people now, who have been raped and sexually assaulted. And to me, it's nothing to play with. It's not a chess move to play games with. That's not how we compete. But obviously, a lot of people out there would do this and do use this as a bargaining chip or a chess move to try to take people down. That's not the way we do business. But again, I guess that's more of an exception than a rule in a community where there are so many people who are in positions of influence but are toxic. So yeah, the thing was, it's just a personal vendetta. Again, from the beginning, I knew about a number of predators. I just spoke out more against one because one, that letter was more detailed than the other one. And because I got permission to talk about things that I didn't get permission on the other hand. And when you're an advocate, that's something that you really have to keep in mind. Even if you want to hammer a predator to the wall for what they've done, you can't overstep the bounds that are given to you by the people who are entrusting you with their personal details, right? So yeah, that's one thing that happened. So another thing that we did, and we'd already started this group called Kizomba Unity. And we started the group. It's a discussion group, and if you want to join, feel free. There's no promotion of events or anything like that, even our stuff. No DJ lives, none of that spam like every other group. It's purely a discussion group to talk about issues facing our community, okay? Now, at the time, the thing I spent the most time talking about was instructors not taking the time to properly learn, because at the time I thought that was the most damaging thing in our community. Then I realized it wasn't, and so I started using the Kizomba Unity group to talk about these issues. And the reason I did it in the group and not on my personal wall as much is because I didn't want people outside of the dance community to think that this was a bigger problem in the dance community than it is in society. I wanted us to be able to talk as a community, not in front of company, right? And so that's why we created the group. And so I ended up talking, and a lot of the stuff we started doing advocating for rape culture was in the Kizomba Unity group. So that leads me to another thing that you can do is join the Kizomba Unity group and be a part of the solution. Because especially right now, it's really popping. A lot of leaders are going in there, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas. It's really awesome. I'm actually very happy about how it's going right now. The other thing that we started doing, because we realized, yes, it's one thing to talk about stuff, but the truth is, most of these predators are repeat predators, right? They don't really care about any appeals to decency or, this is wrong. They don't care. What they care about is when their money or their influence is threatened, right? And so we were thinking, what can we do to actually create some real consequences, right? So what we did was we created what we call a predator-friendly events list. And in this list, we list one, events that are organized by predators, and two, events that hire predators. And we focused it in the US in the beginning because, again, that's where I had the most information that I was allowed to share. And our standard, again, was credible first-hand accounts. And Harvey, that's going to be where we come into what you are saying there. Because even what you're saying right now, Harvey, is I could say that by what you're doing right now, you're basically throwing out a hearsay that could potentially impugn us and our festival, right? That's how dangerous this is. What Harvey has just put in there is not a verifiable or credible first-hand account. It's just, I could say, Harvey, can you address the rumor that at your Compa festival, I heard that there was a predator on your lineup, right? Again, there's nothing substantiating this, and that's why it's so dangerous to do this. And that is why when we speak out, we make sure we know what we're talking about first. So, again, I can tell you, no, I know, Harvey, I know that's not your intention, but this is why this is so important, and it's very important to be responsible in what you say and how and when you say it, right? It's very important. I can say for our festival, we have canceled artists for much less than rape, even people who we like. We've lost a significant amount of money doing so because when people come to us and share stories, we believe them, even people who we like, even people who we respect. If anyone is on the lineup at one of our events, there is no credible first-hand account. Now, again, I say this because this is important. Anybody can say anything about anyone, right? I could make up a rumor right now. I heard this person raped somebody in Alabama 10 years ago. I heard it. Okay, where did you hear it? From somebody. Now, again, like I said, some of these rumors are started by other predators because they are competing, right? In fact, from what I understand, there are some rumors about this instructor you're talking about, Harvey, that were actually promulgated and spread by the predator that actually has a first-hand account operating in the US. A better question is, why are people still supporting this predator when everybody who's been in the Kizomba community for more than 4 years now knows who this predator in the US is? And yet people are still at his events, people are still supporting, right? And this is the problem, right? When there is a credible first-hand account and people still don't do anything about it, but then you want to ask questions about rumors, right? These rumors make it harder for those of us really trying to advocate to actually do the right thing because it's a deflection, right? It is a deflection. So my answer is, if anybody, again, we are arguably the most aggressively outspoken advocates in the Kizomba community when it comes to rape culture. We have stuck our necks out more than pretty much anybody at this point, right? We have dealt with blacklisting, lies, threats, people trying to intimidate us, destroy our brand, destroy our business, destroy our reputation behind doing this. Why would we speak out against predators and then hire them at our event knowingly? That doesn't make sense. At the same time, though, if we believe rumors that are unsubstantiated, then we'd be in the wrong too. And again, you have to also understand that there is definitely, maybe not as much in the dance community, but historically there has been people using rape accusations to try to harm certain demographics, right? And we all know that has happened in society. Now, for me, especially as a black man, knowing that black men are often the ones who are, falsely accused for different reasons, I have to balance that with the need to protect our community, right? And that's why we have the standard that we have. So for anyone who wants to criticize that, I ask you, what standards have you set? What have you done to keep your community safe? And anybody who hasn't done a fraction of what we have done for the community, I would suggest taking that energy and then putting it into what you can do to help instead of trying to hinder. Because I address that to Harvey, not because I believe Harvey is trying to harm us, but because this is something, right? Often I see on Facebook very passive aggressively, I'll say something and then somebody will say something in passing about hypocrisy or irony. Now, they never back it up because they can't, because they're too chicken shit to actually say anything, because again, if they have to name somebody and then they don't have anything to back it up, right? If we believe anybody was a danger to anyone at our event, we would not hire them. And if you look at our lineup for the past few years, you will notice that there have been people who we have canceled. And often that's why. And it's not because of rape. In the beginning, our hard line was rape and sexual assault, because we figured we'd set the bar super low, that everybody could agree that rape is wrong, right? Well, apparently everybody cannot agree that rape is wrong when one of your friends is an alleged or accused rapist, or someone who's offered. And this is again why it's so dangerous, because when organizers are the predators, they can offer a lot of things, especially to the artists and aspiring artists, who are usually the people who are in other positions of influence, right? For example, let's say I'm the predator and I'm an organizer, and you are an instructor, and I call you, because again, this is the MO of one of the predators. And this isn't just one predator, but again, I've had the most experience dealing with and talking on this situation, and so I can talk more about this. But this is something that the most talented predators will do. They tend to do a lot of the work behind the scenes. So they'll get your number, call you, they'll come at you real friendly and humble, right? They'll give you just enough truth to cover the bullshit. And so you swallow the whole pill, right? So you've got the bullshit pill, you put enough sugar on it, you swallow it down, not realizing that you just swallowed a whole heap of bullshit because it tasted sweet, right? That's what happens, right? Little things like, and again, these are things that a predator might say, oh, it wasn't rape because we had a relationship later, or it wasn't rape because we were drunk, or it wasn't rape because look, or it wasn't rape because look, my wife or my girlfriend or my whatever didn't leave me. So clearly I didn't do anything wrong, right? And that's another thing that you have to understand. Most of the most talented predators or bad actors of all types are married or in relationships and things like that. You look at any bad actor, Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, all of them had their enablers and their people even after they got convicted, right? And I'm not going to talk about the psychology of why somebody might stay in a relationship with a bad actor, because it's beyond the scope of this video and I don't want to be more hurtful than need be. But yeah, just because somebody is in a relationship or married, that doesn't mean they're not a predator. In fact, that is often the cover. That is often the sheep's clothing that helps the wolf get into the sheep pen, if as it were. Because if you talk about a lot of these stories and you will hear similar things. I didn't think I was in danger because this person is married and I know his wife. I didn't think this person was in danger because I know he had a girlfriend and I know her. I didn't think this person was a danger because I know his girlfriend and she's pregnant, right? People get married and get in relationships for a lot of reasons, right? And, and it's like, it just trips me out. If somebody is willing to betray and humiliate someone as close to them as a spouse or a girlfriend or whatever, what makes you think that they're going to keep anybody else's interest at heart, right? It just doesn't work that way. People like this, I hate to say it, but some of these predators are borderline sociopath. Some of them use that cover of being in a relationship to get them more access to these women. And this is the problem, right? You use your status in the dance community, you use your relationship status, and then you get in there, you take advantage, and then you use that as a shield, and often they will enable you, right? Either because, for a lot of reasons, but often again, if you really love someone, you're going to want to believe them even if they feed you a bunch of BS. Oh, it was consensual, I didn't do anything. It was consensual. Every predator accused of rape or sexual assault says it's consensual. I have not seen one predator say, okay, maybe it wasn't consensual. Never. You could get convicted in a court of law, and most of these predators will still say, I didn't do it, right? Accountability is anathema to these predators. They will not hold themselves accountable. We have to do it. So yeah, I'm talking a lot about this, but again, this is something that the most talented predators will do. And if you speak out, you will become a target. So you have to know about these tools, okay? Projection is a big one. And, for me, it kind of tripped me out in the beginning that people would say things like, I have, those who know me know there are only two things that I take personally: disrespect my wife, disrespect my family. And if I take something personally, I deal with it personally. I don't play these shady games. But these shady games are so common in the dance community that people assume everybody does it because that's what they're on. So all that to say, anyone out there at this point, if somebody is telling you that Billy is just holding a personal grudge or vendetta and that's what it's about, I'm not gonna say slap them in the face, but tell them to at me, because they probably don't know me, right? And all they're doing is helping predators get away with their bad behavior. And again, that's another thing I want to say to people. If you are in the dance community, before you expend any energy knocking, criticizing, or trying to come sideways at people who are actually trying to do something for the community, make sure that you're actually trying to do something for the community too. And that's not for any one person. I'm not saying this at any one person. I'm saying in general. If you're not going to be a part of the solution, the least you can do is stay out of the way of people who are. Because you look at the people who say things like Billy, they're the ones saying rapey stuff on Facebook. They're the ones who are very questionable. And for me, I don't want rapey people at our events. And that's the next thing that I'll talk about. So for our predator-friendly group, if there are verifiable, credible first-hand accounts of sexual misconduct, in the beginning it was sexual assault and rape, but now we've lowered the standards. And this is a part of our evolving advocacy. In the beginning, there are people who were saying all we cared about is rape. And this is important because a lot of women get frustrated because everybody focuses on the rape and not the more seemingly innocuous stuff like groping or gaslighting or other ways in which boundaries are crossed. Excuse me. So our new standard was, if you do anything that takes away the agency of someone else, for instance, if someone expresses to you that they don't consent to your contact and you contact them anyway, even if it's touching, that's crossed the line. Now, we're finessing this stuff too, because what do you do if someone is just propositioning someone, right? There's no law against hitting on people. It's not against the law to do that. And sometimes, we get mixed signals. So what happens if I say, hey, you want to do whatever, and you say no, and I'm like, come on, how about it, right? Have I crossed the line at that point? And if so, how do I deal with that kind of stuff where it's in a gray area? For us, this is our standard. Because everyone that we've called a predator isn't a rapist. Everyone we've called a predator isn't necessarily even physically dangerous in the sense that I think they would harm people. It's that they're a professional liability because they're inappropriate and unprofessional. Because especially if you're in a position of influence, you now have you have a position of power, and that can be abused, right? When it's two people on equal playing fields, and again, I know we're all adults, but still, there is a power dynamic here that we have to keep in play. So if you're using that power dynamic to try to coerce someone, that is wrong, even if you don't touch them. And if you are called out, like say someone comes to us with a credible firsthand account of this coercion, this is something that we would bring to the artist and we would say, this behavior is wrong. What do you have to say? And if the artist owns their shit, says, you know what, this is bullshit, I was wrong, I'm going to apologize to this person, and I'm never going to do this again. If you make it right with the people that you have caused infraction with, and you don't do it again, we could see ourselves forgiving you and maybe working with you again, depending on the severity of it. But if it's something that takes away someone's agency in regard like physical, like anything like rape, sexual assault, there's no redemption there because you've committed a crime, and there's no redemption until you are truly held accountable and not just saying sorry. You have to be held accountable. That means you got to be gone for a while, period, right? But minor infractions, like even something like, what if someone touches someone? Now, if you grope someone as an instructor, you're going to get fired, period, right? Is that something that you can come back from in the future? It's a case by case, right? Are you going to get help? Are you going to show organizers that you have acknowledged that you did something wrong and you're doing steps to learn and do better, things like that? And then there's like a period, maybe for us, 2 years, where you keep your nose clean and you're professional. Then maybe we would consider if people in our community were okay with it, because we would take this to our community and ask them how they feel, and we would get feedback privately, not publicly, privately, to protect them. Because as leaders, we have to set a standard or create an environment where people feel comfortable coming and talking to us about stuff. Because again, if you don't create that trust, you're not going to get any credible firsthand accounts, because nobody will trust you to not use it to backlash at them. For instance, for us, people will come and they'll share stories with us if something happens at one of our events, right? And I'll talk about this in a second, because this is something else I can do. It's helpful to have people who are designated people that you can come to. For us, it's Monica and I, obviously, and you can come and talk to us. And when someone comes to you, you have to believe them. And this is step 2. You have to believe people who come to you, okay? It doesn't matter if you get along with them. I could think that you are human dumpster juice. I could think you're the worst person in the world. But if you come to me with a credible firsthand account of sexual assault, I will stand by you. Why? Because it doesn't matter if I like you or not. Wrong is wrong. And integrity is all about holding yourself to a standard that it's not tied to fickle winds or what's popular or personal feelings. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. And that's something that I want all of you to understand, because it's something that's very important to me. I don't just talk about integrity on Facebook all the time because I want to look cool. In fact, if you think and see the things that we've done over the past 4 years, because right now, because people are kind of giving us some respect and encouragement for our 4 years of sticking our necks out, and people are trying to like twist that and say, oh, you're just trying to do this for the likes or whatever. We've gotten far more hate than we've gotten love for our stance. Because again, many of the organizers in our community are either predators or complicit, okay? And I'm gonna talk about this because this is really important. Because I said, don't hire predators and don't support their events. But a lot of people in the dance community, hey Sophia, a lot of people in the dance community are still supporting. And there is a credible firsthand account. That letter, and I'll share it again in the comment, it is verifiable. I can tell you, I have every reason to believe that this happened, okay? Because of things, I can't share everything on social media, but this is not some random rumor that somebody might have made up. Or maybe not, I don't know. This is something verifiable that happened, okay? And people know this. I guarantee you, every organizer that's been organizing for a while knows about this, especially now. But last year, had a festival, a lot of people, well, some people went, right? Even people who are now speaking against rape culture. But you're either attending or working with these predators. Now, again, there's some hypocrisy. And if it wasn't for COVID, a lot of people right now who are advocates would be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Because you can't say that you're for survivors and victims. You can't say that you're anti-rape culture while you're putting money into the pockets of accused rapists. Right? And that's why you have you have an accused rapist doing a panel talk as an advocate against rape culture. This is extreme gaslighting, people. A predator presenting himself as a rape culture advocate, right? Like me. A predator, an accused rapist is doing this. This is how dangerous and how talented these manipulators are. They can get people to believe anything, especially the opportunists. And this is why it's so dangerous with the organizers, because if they offer you a booking, right? A lot of the people who are condemning one person, right? It's because if you look at this one organizer who was condemned by everybody because all these women came forward, right? A lot of the people condemning this person weren't in a position to ever have a business relationship with this person, right? They got nothing from the association. There's no opportunism there. So it's easy to condemn someone who doesn't do anything for you and is unlikely to. But if you take another organizer who either has worked with you or has promised, because again, this is the main reason why organizers who are predators are so dangerous, because they can offer all the instructors and DJs that they feel would fall for this BS, offer them bookings, right? And if you're an opportunist, and there are a lot of people who are opportunists in our community, then that's enough to keep you quiet. Why would you speak out against somebody who might be able to give you some opportunities and put some money in your pocket? And that's the problem that we have right now. And that's why, at the end, when I talk about how to hold people accountable, this is something that you need to look at. Anybody who's in the Kizomba community right now that's been dancing in North America for more than 3 or 4 years knows who this predator is. Okay? And their events were on the predator friendly list for a second, but it got canceled. If it wasn't for COVID, it would have been full up. And fair warning, anybody out there, if you are a predator hosting events or you are hiring them, and again, I'm talking about predators for which they are credible first-hand accounts, and and most of you who are organizers, you know who they are. If you hire them, you're going to get called out. You're going to get called out, period. And I'm going to talk about some of the blowback that we've gotten and how to deal with it at the end. Okay, so don't hire predators. Don't attend events that hire them, because again, it's not just holding the predators accountable. You got to hold the people who enable them. You got to hold the people who enable them accountable as well, right? A lot of them are men, but women too, who are Black Lives Matter shouting loud, right? And even would share things like accountability feels like an attack when you don't want to acknowledge the harm that you do to others, right? Ironically, the same thing applies to rape culture, but now they feel attacked, right? And even women. When we first started speaking out against rape culture, it wasn't just men coming. Some of the nastiest people were women. Some of these women who came at me sideways are now sharing their own stories. So how are you going to be an alleged victim or survivor, and then you're coming at me sideways when I'm trying to advocate for you? But that's how internalized rape culture is, just like systemic racism is internalized. A lot of women internalize this rape culture, and sometimes it's women attacking the other women who speak up. When women speak out against predators, you have other women, and here's a deflection tactic. We're not respecting the wishes of the victims. We're not making this about the victim anymore. Do you think that victims of sexual misconduct don't want their perpetrators to be called out? You think that people who've been harmed don't want justice? You think that it's not in the best interest of people who've been hurt to speak out against the people who've hurt them? But yeah, you gotta be careful about this gaslighting tactic. And I've seen women in our community doing this too. When the first predator was outed, everybody was like, oh, except for this person's friends who were like, But because there are 50 billion people who came forward to accuse this one person, now it's believable. Now everybody's beating the drum of righteous indignation and everybody's an advocate now, and oh my God. Even people who 2 months ago were putting money into the pockets of predators, who I had to call out for hiring predators, and who, instead of acknowledging their complicity, started attacking me and talking shit. And then now they're on Facebook pretending to be, and again, I say pretending to be, I might be wrong, but to me, it's a little bit disingenuous when you were a part of the problem yesterday to now put yourself out as an advocate and you haven't acknowledged your complicity and held yourself accountable and owned your shit. And that's something at the end I will talk about when we're talking about holding people accountable. Because again, people who don't hold themselves accountable are not trustworthy. They're not. They'll do whatever they feel will get them some popularity or whatever. It's just opportunism. And there are a lot of people who are opportunists in rape culture right now because it's almost cool right now because of Me Too. Unless you're advocating against people who people actually know. Right? It's easy to advocate against people you don't know, don't hang out with, don't see, don't work with. But now when the predator is someone who you feel might be buttering your bread, now people are like, I don't know. Don, join the Kizomba Unity group. You'll be able to find enough. And again, if anybody is wondering who some of these people are, just hit me up privately and I will tell you everything that I'm at liberty to tell you, as always. But again, to be responsible as an advocate, I can't just go naming names, and especially like something like this. And the reason is because I haven't been given permission to, and because again, some of these predators are very aggressive and vindictive, and they may out the survivor victim before they're ready to come forward. And I can't let that happen, right? That's happened before, where somebody doesn't like somebody, so they use even a credible account of sexual misconduct to attack this other person without getting the permission of the actual victim survivor. And that is inappropriate, and I'm not going to do that. So for a lot of people who are like, why is Billy always being so vague about this? If it was up to me, I would call out everybody and dare you to come see me. Dare you to come see me. But it's not about me, is it? And that's something that everybody needs to realize about advocacy. Being a real ally and advocate, the first thing you have to remind yourself is it's not about you. And I tell myself that all the time. Because when I first started speaking out, a mistake I made was I was putting way too much pressure. I didn't realize it. I thought I was helping, but I was putting pressure on the victims to come forward because I wanted them to come forward, name their attackers, press charges, all that stuff. But that was because of my own ignorance about how insidious rape culture is, and how even when people come forward and you know, use the criminal justice system, it often doesn't work in their favor. Kind of like systemic racism and Black Lives Matter. I didn't understand this fully at the time, and I was criticized by some of the people who were also advocating, and they were right. And you know what I did? I owned my shit. I said my bad, and I learned and I grew. And this is something that you need to keep an eye out for when you're looking at people who are actually real allies and people who are just being performative. Anybody who can't acknowledge their own complicity, their own mistakes, their own wrongdoing in anything is not trustworthy. And I would advise you to not trust anything, because there are too many people out there who will do and say whatever it takes to get where they want to be. You really want to come? Okay. You really want to come on? Okay. All right. Since I guess the I was trying to not go on a tangent, and I think, okay, I'm tempted to go left on this, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna stay. The DJ disrespectful to my mom. You just outed yourself, so thank you. And there is no full story. When you disrespect somebody's mother, that's trash behavior. There's no justification. Period. But we're going to talk about disrespectful behavior in the Kizomba community in another video. We're not going to talk about that now. So please move around until you apologize to my mother. I'm not going to say anything else to you again. Okay, moving on. So, people in the Kizomba community, there are people out there who are good people. They really want to do the right thing, but it can be difficult, right? Speaking out puts a target on your back. Right. Also, because there are so many fake advocates out there who are really just using, you know, whatever social justice movement of the moment to raise their own profile, it can be hard to trust and see who's real and who's not, right? And this is very important. So, to recap what you can do. As an organizer, don't hire predators. Don't support events that hire predators. Join the Kizomba Unity group if you want, because we share a lot of this information in there if you're trying to figure that out. Set a standard, like for our sphere of influences, credible firsthand accounts. Set a standard and stick to it, right? Don't deal in rumor and hearsay. Listen to it, keep an eye out, but don't let that be the standard. Because rumor, unsubstantiated rumor, it's wrong to act on that. It's wrong. When people come to you, I see now some of my detractors are trying to come on at the same time to distract the. Okay, so I said that there have been a number of people who have been disrespectful to us over the years, and some of them are now commenting, interestingly enough, using this platform, I guess, to, yeah. So, yeah, my mom has, okay, since now this is turning into some sort of petty gossip. Okay. Who's that? Is that you, Mom?
Yes, it is.
Okay, come here for a second. I'm going to have to edit this video and post, but since people want to come in and spread,
yes,
yeah.
I will say a comment.
Okay. So, thank you, Amber, for outing yourself as a toxic, disrespectful person you are. Anyone who would disrespect someone's mother is human trash. There is no justification. There is no defense. And anyone who would try to defend or justify this behavior, you need to do better. And anyone who would try to come on a post that is talking about something that really affects the community and try to turn it left for whatever petty aims that you have, here's what happened. My mother was disrespected by Amber Rose, who is a DJ in the United States. Okay? My mother did not curse anybody out because she's actually a good person. But this person, Amber, disrespected her. And for that reason, we will never, ever support any event that ever hires her. Okay? And in a second, she's going to be blocked because I'm big on not letting toxic people use our platform to get fame. So this is all going to be scrubbed in a second. So enjoy your 5 minutes of fame.
Okay. I have something to say to this piece of trash.
Mom, no need to get...
Amber Rose. And when I say trash, I don't use that lightly. I am a very respectful person. I don't judge anyone, lest I be judged. I tried to have an adult conversation with Amber Rose, not anyone else. And whoever else she says that I said anything is fake. They made it up. I didn't say anything. I don't know those individuals. I will say this. I respect my son. He is respectful. He is trying to do something that a lot of people don't stand up for. And right is right. Amber Rose, I gave her an opportunity to explain herself of why she had a problem with Billy and Monica, mainly Billy. She, in turn, tried to ask me why he wasn't an attorney. I addressed her and told her that she needed to ask Billy. And I also asked her why she wasn't a nurse, why she wasn't a president. Those were my questions to her. Since she had no comment and she could not answer, I told her I didn't have time to talk to children. If she wanted to have an adult conversation at any time, please, let's discuss this as human beings. She refused. I then told her I didn't have time for toxic behavior and I had nothing else to talk to her about. Do not contact me and don't have anything else to say to me. Once again, I am for right. I have an opinion like anyone else. However, if you want to sit there and justify rapists and predators and toxic people, then you're part of the problem. And I wish you the best of blessings and the best of luck. Don't ever accuse me of doing anything that I didn't do. And if you are a woman of your word, then you would say what actually happened. And whoever else you said I cursed out, you are not telling the truth. So if you want to have something to say, please say it to me.
What did she actually say to you?
She told me, she cursed me out.
What did she say?
She said that that's why Billy was why he is, and that I had to fight his battles.
What specifically did she say? Because I remember.
I don't remember everything she said.
She said, when are you going to take your titty out of his mouth? That's what she said.
Yes.
When I say she disrespected my mother, that's what she said. So again, before I block you, Amber Rose, for being the toxic individual that you are, enjoy your 5 seconds of fame. And whoever else is on here trying to, and good, you also tag the other toxic people. So since we talked about that, I was going to talk about that in another post. Now this has turned into freaking drama hour.
No, it's not a drama.
No, it's okay because I was gonna refer to this in a second.
People.
But I want you to go ahead, everybody, screenshot the people who she tagged in here because I want to tell you what happened there. Okay, this is what happened. About 2 years ago, and again, this is happening partly because of the resentment towards us because of our stance. Also, Rashika, I already answered the question. So yeah, better question is, I mean, I can ask you, why are you working with people who were accused of rape when there are credible firsthand accounts out there? Rashika, if you want to ask questions, that's our standard. If we have credible firsthand accounts, we don't hire you, we don't work with you, we don't support you. We won't work for you. Can you say the same? No, you can't. So basically what happened, yeah, this is an exact example of toxic people. And I want everybody watching this to see who these toxic people are and understand when I talk about people who disrespect my family, this is an example. Only trash human beings would do this. There is no justification. But toxic people, as I said, will never own their shit, ever. They won't own it, ever. Now she's talking trash about my mother, right? Like, who does this, okay? Monica.
She's talking about her mom.
No. We're not going to get into that. No. This is too much. Okay. I'm going to tell everybody what happened. About 2 years ago or so, I made a post, Monica and I, where we were talking about giving advice to people in the dance community who want to be successful instructors and so on. One of the things I said was basically talking about how it was important to be healthy and fit if you want to be seen as an elite instructor. Now, again, I am someone who's been very honest about my struggles with weight loss and how I'm carrying a little weight all the time. I call it my enhanced connection point, and I was even fatter at the time. And I say this as someone who's overweight and someone who's had to deal with it. And basically what I said was, there is a bias in the dance community against bigger people. And I said, is it fair? No. Is it there? Yes. People out there, this is basically someone who, and again, this all ties into, sorry, Rashika, I don't have time for you right now. I'm talking about what I'm talking about. You can talk to me offline if you want to, not on my live, trying to distract from the very salient points that I'm making right now. So again, if you want to talk to me, hit me up privately. I don't have time for this side chatter anymore, because you could have hit me up at any time, but you chose to come right now for a reason. And it's not a coincidence that both of you popped up on the same time. Anyway, so moving on. Basically, people were out there trying to say that I said that bias is fair, bias against bigger people is fair. Now again, one, because bias as a definition inherently means unfair prejudice. It's stupid for anybody who has third grade English. But also because I said myself that as an overweight person, I've had to deal with this bias myself and overcome it, because people would look at me and see that I'm bigger, so they'd assume I don't know what I'm doing. And I specifically was talking about being healthy and fit. I didn't say being thin, I said healthy and fit. Now, who started this? It was a person named Michelle, who used to be a student of ours, but came under the influence of this predator that I was talking about, right? Okay? And this person who came under the influence, it started when I first started speaking out against this person before the rape stuff, okay? And at first she was like, why can't you guys get along? You know, why, if this person was so bad, why are A, B, C still working with him? Now, half those people aren't working with him anymore, right? But what happened basically was, to be involved in this group, you can't be in both anymore, right? So she turned from being someone who's learned a lot from us and has always had kind words, to being someone who would talk trash at us, and every opportunity to come talk trash, kind of like people jumping in to talk trash right now, right? So she led the charge here. And then the people like Rui, who disrespected my wife, and Carlos, and all the other people who were haters, jumped in and started talking trash. Now, this was 2 years ago. And this was at a time where, unlike now, where I realized that it's really not worth it. You're toxic because you're toxic, Amber, period. Until you own your own toxicity, you're never going to grow. And I can't even say anything else to you. Just get off before I block you. Okay. So the people who came on and were talking trash, oh, they're attention whores, disrespecting us. I was upset because, one, you come on our video and misconstrue what she said. You put false allegations to try to harm our business and our reputation on something stupid. And they had a couple people co-signing this stupidity, which actually makes no sense. How would someone as educated as I am, or anyone who has basic knowledge of English say something that like bias is fair. It is a freaking conundrum, right? It doesn't work. But this was an example of what I was talking about. These are people who are trying to hurt our business, our brand, by impugning our character. And this, why are people doing this? What happened? It's because we started speaking against this predator. And so in order to get points with this group, talk trash about us, right? Again, all the people talking trash are, you'll notice, people who have been set against us in some way. And we'll talk about that more in a second. So basically, I called out each of them, including Amber. I called out each of them. I didn't cuss them out. I said to Amber specifically that maybe if she wasn't so toxic and focused on mastering her craft, she'd actually be more successful and wouldn't be such a bitter Betty. That's what I said. That's not cussing anybody out. I told Carlos that every time people are talking shit, he's there like a fly on shit. And then I was going to talk to him in person. I told Rui that maybe if he was a bit more respectful, that people who don't give him a pass just because he's Angolan would actually take him seriously, right? I didn't cuss anybody out. I called them out for being disrespectful to us online because I was tired of it. And I said, if any of you have something to say, come online. Now, what happened with Rui is he started disrespecting my wife, speaking out of turn. And I told him I was going to see him and we were going to handle it in person, right? And then when I saw him again, I was this close to beating his ass. And when I talk about when I was angry, again, the only things I take personally are when the only things I take personally, and this is what happened. My wife was disrespected and my mother was disrespected, okay? So this is what I talk about when I talk about disrespect, because yes, this upset me. And it's taken me years to get to a point where that anger, I've been able to process it in a healthy way. It's been very difficult. So yes, any of these people, anything involved with them, I don't have anything to do with it. If you do, I don't want to support you because toxic people are toxic and you will not find one toxic person that will ever acknowledge any of their own complicity or acknowledge any of the toxic things or wrongdoings that they've had. It's always somebody else's fault, to the point where my mother, who is the kindest, sweetest person I know, damn near a saint, is being impugned right now on this live by someone who is known to be toxic and trashy. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about this on the internet. And that's it. So, for everybody enjoying the drama hour, now we're back to constructive. Anybody else commenting right now and trying to start mess, you will be deleted and blocked. Fair warning. So enjoy your 10 seconds of fame. Okay, now, back to what I was saying. As someone who speaks out, you're going to be a target. For us, we're a target again. We're a target against, let's say you're someone who has an event that's thrown on top of ours. Maybe you might feel some competition with us, right? Maybe you're someone who has been criticized by me because you've engaged in bad behavior. Maybe you're someone who's been supporting one of these predators or working with them, like people who are commenting right now, right? These are all people who are either involved with or desire to score points with the predator that I've mentioned. Notice that I'm talking about predators now, and now these people are starting to pop up, trying to impugn our festival at that. I told you that there are opportunists who will try to take advantage for their own ends, and this is Exhibit A and B, right? Any questions like this could have been just addressed to me personally, right? It's easy to just ask me, Billy, how do you deal with this? None of these people have ever asked me anything about this to my face or on IM or anything until now, because I'm going live and people are talking, right? This is an attempt to deflect from what I'm talking about, right? Don't fall for the okie dokie, people. And this is the masterclass, people. I hope that you guys are learning from this, right? Because people are going to come at you left, right, and center. They're going to try to distract you from what you're doing. They're going to try to make things about them. They're going to try to color people's perceptions of you. And you can't fall for the okie doke. You can't. You got to keep going. So, like I said, don't hire predators. Don't support their events. And I'll say again, for the people in the United States especially, people know who this predator is. So look at the people who've been working at his events. Look at the people who've been working with him. You'll see a couple of those people talking trash right now. You'll see a couple of those people who aren't saying anything except about the one predator who had 10 women come out and say something, right? This hypocrisy, this selective advocacy is something that is really, really, it's kind of an epidemic in our community because there are so few people with actual integrity and so many people who are just opportunists, happy to use someone else's platform to try to give themselves some fame or some relevance. And this is wrong, but this is what people do, right? And if you feed the troll, they grow. And that's why I'm not feeding the troll anymore. So don't hire predators. Don't support events hosted by predators. Don't support events that hire predators, right? Second, set a standard, right? If you're going to speak out against predators, set a standard and a transparent standard. Like we said, ours is credible first-hand accounts. You have to set a standard that everybody knows what it is, okay? There can be no confusion. And that standard may change over time somewhat, but for us, it's always been credible first-hand accounts. Now, like the level of sexual misconduct has changed because in the beginning it was sexual assault and rape, and now it's sexual misconduct that takes away someone else's agency, right? It's a higher standard now. And the reason for that is because now then we can confront people and say, okay, we have first-hand accounts of this. What do you say? And if they don't take ownership of it, we cancel them. And that's what's happened a number of times. And that's why I say at our events, I can say, please, again, everybody advocating for survivors, if you put money into the pocket of predators, work with or for predators, you are a hypocrite, period. And again, I may go ahead and just update the predator list for this year so you guys can see. So you guys can go do a little research and you can see who's been complicit, who's been working with these predators, who've had their pockets lined by these predators, and you'll see who the real advocates are. Because again, anybody who's a real advocate for survivors is not going to be attacking me because we're the only ones. We are the only ones who've been as aggressive and as vocal and as consistent as we have been in Kizomba. And that's since 2016. Now, there are other advocates who have been doing things behind the scenes, real advocates like Laura Tibet with climbing and sexual abuse, who are the real experts, and we're not. But what I'm saying is, anybody who's a real advocate will be supporting our efforts. And the people who are not or trying to detract, it's because they're not really advocating for anything except for themselves. So watch out for these hypocrites, because now we're going to get into how you can hold organizers accountable, and you can tell, because some of them are outing themselves right now. This is actually really great. Right? As organizers, we are the ones who set the example, right? So I said, who you hire and who you support is the biggest thing because that money and influence is important. There are also things like Climb Against Sexual Abuse has a zero tolerance campaign, and there are things like have zero tolerance posters. You can post things about consent on the walls, and these are all good things you can do as well, but I'm going over, so I'm trying to close up. And there's a lot more stuff you can do. I'm going to have to do another video on that because I got sidetracked, right? So who you hire, who you work with, who you support is the most important thing. Speak out against people who would harm others, hold them accountable. For us, it's in our Kizomba Unity group. If you want to join and be a part of the solution, please do. Because again, there are a lot of, like we name names of events in there now. At first I just put cities because I don't like calling people out by name because I want to give them the space to own their shit and do better. But the truth is most people don't, right? They just want attention or they want to feel like they are in the right. And it's just immature people will never acknowledge their own complicity in any wrongdoing. And I learned 2 years ago with that very conversation when my family was disrespected that you can't deal with toxic people, right? You can't deal with it. And that's why I was almost ready to beat somebody up. And I realized it's not worth it. It's not worth it because I have too much to live for that I'm building for myself and my family. It's not worth it dealing with these toxic people. What you can do is keep them out of your sphere. And that's what we do. And if you'll notice, toxic people don't like us, right? Toxic people don't support us because we're so outspoken. And it's not something that we planned in the beginning, but it is something that now is actually a good side effect. So again, you will see toxic people coming at us sideways because they don't like us or they don't support us or they put themselves in opposition to us, right? So they're out in themselves. So you want to see who some of the toxic people are? I don't even have to do my other video now because now you're seeing who some of the toxic people are. They're out in themselves. And that's the thing. All you have to do is be consistent. And bad people and toxic people will out themselves. As long as you don't engage with them too much, there's only so much they can do. And so this is actually really great. It's really great that my mom was being disrespected again while she was here to actually say something. So again, if you're wondering who to not support, don't support people like that or people who enable people like that. Because you do that and you're already cutting away half the problems that you'll ever have in the community, right? So, how to hold organizers accountable? Okay. It's pretty easy. Well, first of all, don't hire organizers who are toxic. I mean, don't support their events, right? How can you tell that somebody's toxic? Well, the way they talk to people, for one, right? People who have class don't disrespect people. And people who have integrity hold themselves accountable when they make mistakes, right? But if you want to see who's a real advocate, it's simple. I tell you now, everybody in the U.S. knows the identity of the predator who was implicated in the letter that I shared in 2016. Everybody knows at this point. But some people continue to support him. Some people continue to enable him. Some people work with him because they'll work with anybody as long as it benefits their own bottom line, right? Some people really don't believe that anything bad happened. Some people just don't want to believe something bad happened because, again, all they really care about is themselves. So if you want to see who the real advocates are, anyone who's been complicit in the past, the first thing they're going to do is apologize. Anybody who's been complicit in anything, and even us, and we've been advocates for 4 years. I've made mistakes, and I'm the first one to say that I've made mistakes and I apologize. And I've done far more than most people in the Kizomba community to fight rape culture. And I still admit that I'm not perfect and I own my shit. Anybody who can't own their shit. Now, why are people trying to attack our event right now? Well, one of the people has an event thrown on top of ours. So there's like, you see like this competition stuff, right? And this is part of the stuff I'm talking about. People will try to knock you to elevate themselves when anyone could have said, hey, Billy, again, I can make up any rumor about anybody, but I'm not going to go on your wall and throw stuff at you while you're talking about something if I can just talk to you directly. There's no reason to do that unless you're trying to throw stones. I'll make an exception for Harvey, though, because he's a good dude, right? But people who are really real about advocacy, they don't only talk about Facebook. Anybody can say they're an advocate. Anybody can say anything. What do you do? What do you do? What do you stand for? Who do you work with? Who do you hire? And I can tell you, we don't hire or work with anybody for which there are credible first-hand accounts. And that includes when someone came to me in 2016 and told me about her rape. I knew who this person was. I couldn't out him. I shared the letter, but I couldn't say anything. I didn't hire him. Now this person has been, basically outed by everybody. I can say something, but this is something I've had to sit on. Now, what could I do as an organizer? Could I denounce this person? No. Could I give hints on who this person is? No. I could not hire this person, though, right? I could give what information I can. I could. And sometimes people would ask me questions, and I'm like this, I can't really say anything about this because I don't have permission, right? Because I had to be a responsible advocate, right? Because that's what integrity is. But yeah, look and see what people do. I mean, again, if you just look at the events hosted by some of these predators in the last few years, and you'll see people who've been complicit. If any of them don't acknowledge their complicity now, they're fake. Don't support them, right? And again, as someone who, I like to compete, and I want people to support our events because they like what we stand for and because they vibe with our whatever. We don't compete dishonorably. But honestly speaking, if you really look at it, the people who set themselves against us more often than not tend to be toxic. Toxic people don't support us. They don't like us. They often try to attack us like you're seeing today, right? So if you see people setting themselves against us, that's probably a pretty good indication to you that they're on BS. And most of the people who are on BS in the United States are enablers or supporters of this predator, period. Why? Because that's what toxic people do. They attract each other. Your vibe attracts your tribe. If you're toxic and opportunistic, you're going to attract other toxic and opportunistic people. That's just how it works. I don't like to compete dishonorably. So what I always say is this is what we stand for, you know. Now, another thing that we stand for is community, right? Anything that divides the community, right? So I've been critical of people, say, throwing events on top of other people because it divides the community, because it creates a situation where people feel like they have to choose. And because of the cliquish nature of many of these cliques in the United States or in North America or in the dance community in general, people often feel torn between doing what their friends do and doing what's best for them. So it doesn't hurt us. And I think it should be pretty obvious to those who are paying attention why that doesn't hurt us as Kizomba Harmony, because again, the people who are drawn to us tend to vibe with our values. But it does hurt people who vibe more with our values but may feel pulled to go with their friends, right? And this is what I always I always feel for people like this because I understand peer pressure. And peer pressure is such a big thing in the dance community. And a lot of people, even if they know something isn't right, they will go with what their friends do, or they'll look the other way because they want to be accepted. And this is exactly tying into these predators and all this stuff. Because if a predator is in a position of influence in a clique, nobody in that clique is going to want to go against this person. Now, again, this person is so influential that he's actually influenced different cliques because he's pulled the opportunists in all the cliques and he's influenced them all. So he's probably the smartest predator, unlike this other one who got called out by 10 women because he wasn't smart. This predator is smart. If it sounds like I admire him in the way I admire talented sociopaths, right? If you're good at something, I admire it to be good at something. I don't admire you as a person, but it takes talent to be able to manipulate people this way. It is very, very awesome. But yeah, look at the people who are respectful, first of all. People who are respectful are not going to deal with predators, period. Because predators are disrespectful, right? Anyone who's about respect and integrity is going to push these people away. It's going to make them feel some kind of way. It's going to trigger them, make them want to say, come on alive and attack people, right? Right? Yeah. So look at the people commenting right now, trying to turn this conversation left. This is an example of people who are part of the problem. And I appreciate you guys for coming on because I was gonna go for the toxic, disrespectful people in another video. They came on and helped. So look at them and their associates, and you will see. Start there. Look at the associates, trickle up, and you will find a lot of these toxic people. It's not hard. Some of them were named in this very comment, in the comment in this video. So actually, when you do the right thing consistently, even things that are meant to harm you work to your benefit. And that's the story of Kizomba Harmony. Even things that are meant to harm us has worked to our benefit. Yeah. What happened? What are you showing me?
Just tell them that.
My mother says that she apologizes for allowing a lost soul to change her personality. To all those that she's met, she truly apologizes for allowing herself to be like them. Now, this is an example, and my mom didn't even do anything wrong. But she's apologizing for going outside of her character, not by doing anything she's accused of doing, but just by even engaging in this foolishness. That's what a person with integrity does. So again, anyone on here who would disrespect my mother who thinks that's cool, you're trash. Anyone who would try to enable, you're also trash. And you've just basically outed yourself to our entire community. Thank you. You're making my job easier, and I don't even have to make another video right now. It'll probably be 5 minutes. I can just replay this. Anyway, so yeah, people who are real advocates are first going to acknowledge any wrongdoing that they've done. Any type of person with integrity will acknowledge what they've done first and foremost. Anyone who won't do that or can't do that is too immature to be an advocate for anything or stand for anything other than their own opportunistic, selfish desires. Period. Okay, so yeah, I haven't seen because the comments are popping up on the thing, that's probably what attracted these flies, right? Because when you make a comment, it pops up in the video. But I'm going to repost another version of this video without the trash. So for those of you who are concerned about that, no worries. It's very easy to erase the stuff. Okay, so yeah, hold people accountable. Support people And I'm not saying this because we do it. We do it because it's right. But if you look at organizers who've set up a hard zero tolerance policy and act on it, right? And here's the thing. There are organizers right now who are talking big about being an advocate. Oh, I'm an advocate for survivors. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm this. But none of them are willing to speak out against predators who work with them or who they know or who they want a relationship with. You can't have it both ways. Uh-oh. Huh? Oh, it chatted. It went out. I'm going to go live one more time. I'm not going to talk about that.
Just stick on point and close up.
Yeah. I'm live? Okay. So I'm going back live again. Sorry, something happened. I don't know what happened, but technical glitch, I don't know. So I'm back. So in this one, is this me now? Am I live now? Interesting. Okay. It's hard for me to see if I'm actually live now. Okay, bet. Wait, no, this is the wrong one. Yeah, so I'm trying to make sure I can see myself real quick because for whatever reason the live stopped. Now I'm trying to make sure I can do it again. Okay, cool. Okay, now, okay. I'm sorry to those that this live got sidetracked by opportunists. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to be talking about toxic people. That toxic people and disrespectful people are going to be the topic of my next video, but some of them decided to rear their heads now. I can tell you now that everybody talking trash, none of them care about anything but themselves. And everybody talking about collaboration and all this, look, if somebody's talking trash about me, you can guarantee that at some point I have tried to talk to them or work with them or make things right and didn't work out. Not because of anything we didn't try. But I don't want to give any more time to these people who are just being foul right now. Okay, so to finish, basically, organizers who actually want to be a part of the solution, we're in a very good position to help. Okay, we have to make sure that we don't hire predators. Excuse me, that we don't support events that are hosted by predators, that we don't, and that for us, and it's even getting worse now, we're not really interested in working with people who are complicit with predators anymore. Because at this point, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Period. Make sure that you set some sort of standard by which you can verify and go through firsthand accounts. For us, it's credible firsthand accounts. Any credible firsthand accounts, we can verify it. If you can confide in us, we will believe you and we will support you. And it doesn't matter how I feel about you as a person. It's not about personal feelings or anything. It's purely integrity, setting the standard. Okay? Not everybody may not like the standard you set, but you have to set that standard because, well, ultimately, what you do at your events is a reflection of you. And it's worked well for us. We don't have any predators at our event based on our standards. And that's a lot better than most other organizers can say. I can tell you that much. We're some of the only organizers who don't work with, we don't work with, for, or hire predators. Now, ask how many other people in this community can say that. It's not a lot, including the people talking trash right now. So, yeah. Make sure that you set standards. For us, working with the organization Climb Against Sexual Abuse has been very good because Laura Tibet with Climb, she's really an expert on this advocacy. I am not an expert on that. I never claimed to be. I've been very ham-fisted in some of my advocacy. I'm not an expert. I'm just a man trying to use my position of privilege to help. And here's the thing. Remember when I said how some of the people coming at me sideways were women? Yeah. How many men in Kizomba were speaking out against rape culture in 2016? And yet, people choose to come in and talk trash to try to deflect on this video. Who's benefiting right now? Who's benefiting from people attacking me? The only people who benefit from that are the predators. Right? And it's a shame. But that's something that you as consumers need to look at. People who carry themselves with dignity and class, or people who are disrespecting people's family, being shady and trifling. Again, I'm not going to tell you who to support, but I can tell you that if our values and views align with you, well, you should probably, pay attention to the people who align themselves with us and the people who align themselves against us. Because I can tell you, none of the predators have aligned themselves with us. And they've all aligned themselves against us for the most part that I can see, right? There's a reason for that. Because people know that sooner or later, if you know that you're engaging in bad behavior, it's only a matter of time before there's a first-hand account that goes our way, and we'll act on it, right? So hell, maybe there are people we have worked with in the past that in the future, maybe there will be a first-hand account that comes out, and then if we get it, we'll act on it, right? It's like nobody is immune from the consequences of the behavior. That's integrity. We've canceled people who were our friends before, and that's the thing. How many other people have done that? How many other people have been willing to lose money because of integrity? I can tell you it's not a lot. We are the only organizers who've been this consistent on fighting rape culture in North America. We're the only ones. We're the only ones. Now, there are other people who are now organizing some stuff who were speaking up back then too. But I'm not saying this to make this about us. But what I'm saying is, if someone who's been working as hard as we have to try to help other people is being attacked by people, look at the people attacking us and you will see people who are complicit. And that's what you can do as a consumer, to look and see who should you support. Because I guarantee you, if you don't support these toxic people, they're gone. All they can do is talk on Facebook, and that's it, right? And even I choose to mute or block them, and now they can't even do that, right? So I appreciate people to come on and talk trash, and I'm going to leave it on for now before I block them later. Because I want people to see an example of the kind of BS that you're going to deal with when you actually stand for something that makes people feel threatened. It's not a coincidence that people came on trying to detract on this video right now. It's not a coincidence, guys. Don't fall for the okie doke. Hold people in your community accountable. Hold yourself accountable first, though, because that's the thing. If you don't hold yourself accountable, how are you going to hold somebody else accountable? Have you been complicit in supporting or enabling rape culture? Most of us have. Even me in some way, because I didn't know about it in the beginning. Even me when I was pressuring victims and survivors to come forward, not realizing that I was hurting more than helping at the time. I was complicit then. And so what did I do? I owned my shit and I did better. If I can do it, anybody can. And anyone who's not willing to do that is not authentic. They're not sincere. They're just basically grandstanding right now because they, unlike me, who I don't care if I look good. I care about being good. It's just now, being good for 4 years, we're actually starting to get a little bit of credit for it. But we got way more hate than love before, right? We got way more hate than love before. This is now some people are starting to see through the BS. And it's a good thing for those who have integrity or want to invest in people with integrity, because now it's becoming easier than it ever has been to see who's on the up and up and who's foul. Nobody with integrity has ever came at me sideways, ever. No one who's a genuinely good person has ever come at me disrespectfully, ever. Because good people don't do that. Even when people have come at me disrespectfully, I still respond respectfully, even now. And this is something that upset me greatly 2 years ago. You see how I responded. I'm not out here, cussing and acting a fool. I'm not going on anybody else's page talking trash. But why do people feel the need to come use our platform? Because they see our platform that we have one. It's growing. Our influence is growing because people see that we actually care about more than ourselves. And this is a beautiful thing. And we're going to use our platform to lift up others in our community who feel the same. Part of why we have Kizomba Unity. So if you want to be a part of the solution, I can tell you who's not in the Kizomba Unity group because they don't want to be a part of the solution. But if you do, join. I want to connect with people of like mind. I mean, the group is damn near about to double now, and people are coming in there from all over the world who actually, they feel the same way we do, and it's a beautiful thing. The days of predators operating with impunity are over. The days with toxic, disrespectful people operating with impunity are over. And the days of having a truly healthy, non-toxic, safe space community are coming. Not just in our sphere of influence, because we've already created. And that's another thing. At our events, it's truly inclusive, right? Another reason why people want to attack our festival, because we're some of the only ones who've created a true safe space inclusive event. Whereas in all these other spheres of influence, a lot of them, you have people complaining about not getting dances, you have people complaining about cliquish behavior, you have people complaining about toxic, disrespectful, nasty people. I wonder why that is, right? All of these things you have happening, but not at our event. And it's because of the example we set. So don't be distracted by the trolls. Don't be distracted by the toxic people. Keep your eyes on the prize, just like I've done here. Okay? I'll have another video very soon where we talk about the toxic people, because since many of them want to out themselves, cool, I'll help them and finish. But at the end of the day, from the time I started dancing Kizomba in 2012, I have never done anything toxic or shady to anybody. I've always treated everybody with kindness, even people who've shown the opposite to me. Even when I call out people for the bad behavior, I never go past a certain level of disrespect. I don't do it. And you haven't even seen it on this video when someone came and disrespected my mother. Because that's the example that I want to set. And this isn't for Facebook. This is because I think it's right. And for those of you who are looking at organizers you want to support, this is what you want to look at. What do you see in their behavior? And two, who do they associate with? Toxic people don't want to associate with good people. Toxic people do not want to associate with us. They don't. Derek, you can't collaborate with people who are shady. I refuse to collaborate with people who are shady. And I can tell you that I've tried to collaborate with a person talking trash now, and it didn't work. Why? Because for us, if we say it's wrong to throw events on top of other people, we probably will reach out. And this is not just one person. A number of people have done this. And every time I go and I say, hey, we are creating an environment here that's dividing the community. What can we do? We did that. We took it on ourselves to do that. We're the ones who had our event first, and the event was thrown on top of us. So we didn't have to do anything, but we tried to reach out and make things right. But it didn't work out. Not because of us, but because of the other party. So again, you can't talk about collaboration with someone who you're disrespecting, and while you're on here co-signing people who disrespect my mother. I'm sorry. Anyone who would co-sign someone who would disrespect my mother is toxic. Period. Period. And anybody supporting that, you're part of the problem too. Straight up. You want a healthy community? Don't encourage, enable, or support toxic people. Period. It doesn't work. It won't work. So everybody who wants to be a part of the solution, it starts with you. Hold yourself accountable. Hold your friends accountable. Period. Period. For those of you who don't know any of these players, just pay attention to us. Pay attention to the people who show us love, and pay attention to the people who show us the opposite. If you look at the people who show us the opposite, these are people who are tied to some of the toxicity that I've criticized in the dance community. And I'm going to make another post where I talk about that so you can understand. Okay? This video has gone way long, and I have to make it more concise because it got distracted. There's so much I wanted to say, but I'm going to redo this and make it into a more concise video for those of you who want to just get to the meat of how to fight rape culture if you're an organizer, and how to hold them accountable, right? And I'm going to try to edit out all the distractions. But yeah, that's all I had to say for now. Join, if you want to be a part of Solution, join the Kizomba Unity group. If you want to talk with real advocates who are like experts, talk with Laura Tibet, who's with Climb Against Sexual Abuse. On my page, you can see we went live and talked with the panel. We're talking about rape culture yesterday, on Saturday. And you can see the Climb Against Sexual Abuse there. Like it, shoot her a message. She has a zero tolerance campaign, and they have like, if you saw those black and red cover photos with zero tolerance, like my cover photo has it. You want to do one of those, hit her up. She has a lot of suggestions on things that people can do, like the things like the posters and having a team at your events, things like that. These are all things that we plan to implement at our events too. And yeah, just treat each other with respect of any, and don't allow disrespect of any kind in your community. Because I guarantee you, if one sort of disrespect is rampant in your community or your clique, all the types of disrespect are rampant. And disrespect was one of the things that I talked about. I've said it a lot. I said we need to keep the same energy when we're fighting racism, rape culture, and toxic disrespect. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Right? This has no place in our community. This is wrong. This is shady, and this is foul. And if you want to be a part of anything good, this is not what you need to be supporting. Wrong is wrong. And I think it's time for everybody who causes harm, via hurting other people or disrespecting other people, to be held accountable. Because too many people out here are always happy to be advocates and talk about holding other people accountable. But that energy changes when they're the ones being held accountable. Any so-called advocate who can't hold themselves accountable is fake. Is a fake, hypocritical opportunist. And for all of you out there who want to hold organizers accountable, this is what you need to look at. Hold yourself to a standard. Hold yourself to a standard. Hold those in your sphere of influence to a standard. Anyone who does that. You don't have to be an organizer, a teacher, a DJ, any of that. All you have to do is take a stand. People who are drawn to that will be drawn to you. And people who are not will be repulsed from you. And usually they'll leave you alone until you do a live that's getting some traction or making them feel some kind of way, so they'll come and make things about them. Another habit of toxic people. Remember what I said in advocacy? It's not about you. Yeah. So why would people come on a video where I'm trying to advocate for survivors and distract from the issue? Think about that. Who benefits from that? I can tell you, survivors don't. Predators do. Maybe people who are trying to score points with the predators, right? But with that, I will end this video. Be on the lookout for another concise video that I'm going to post without all this side chatter and commentary. For those of you watching this who are offended by the trolls, I'm sorry. I didn't invite them. I don't even know why they came. Well, I know why they came on. It's pretty obvious to everybody why they came on. But I'm sorry that they distracted from those of you who really wanted to actually learn how to be a part of the problem. I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry that you had to see my mother disrespected. But now, those of you who understand why I was so upset, now you will understand. There are some bad people in our community, and none of them should be enabled. If you support a predator, you're a part of the problem. If you support disrespectful, toxic, shady, disreputable people, you're part of the problem. And if you're a part of the problem in any of these spheres, you can't really hold yourself out to be an advocate for anything. You can't be a selective advocate. Either you're for right or you're not. So for all of you who are for right, I salute you, and I will do everything I can to help you. I look forward to connecting with more of you, especially in the Kizomba Unity group. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. To everyone who has supported us over the years, I appreciate your support. To our haters, well, be mad, because we're going to be here for another 10, 20 years still doing what we do. And it is what it is, right? I've gotten to a point now where I'm not even as angry as I used to be. I feel sorry for people who would do something like that. I feel sorry for people who, instead of building, seek to tear others down. That's what losers do. And I can't even be mad at losers anymore. I pity them. How sad do you have to be? How sad is your life that instead of building your own and focusing on building, you have to focus on tearing somebody else down who hasn't really even done anything to you? This is sad. People like this are part of the problem. For us, we keep them out of our sphere of influence. And for those of you who want to do the same, this is exactly the kind of behavior that you need to keep out of your sphere. Because any chance you have of building an inclusive community, it will be destroyed by people like this. They can say inclusive all day long, but when you look at it, the only people who are really included are them and their friends, and that's it. So, I've been talking too long, so Jovan, with all due respect, you're the one who I called out 2 months ago. So if you're going to talk about anything, first you need to acknowledge your own complicity. Because you were talking trash and disrespecting me. And you're lucky I didn't watch the video because I saw people talking trash and I was trying to avoid that energy I had 2 years ago. Those of you got to understand. Don't come at me sideways, okay? I don't beef on social media. If you disrespect me or say something, I'm going to deal with you in person. So again, when you establish and acknowledge, own your shit and the way you disrespected me, then you can come on here and talk about respect. Because I've never disrespected you or anybody in your clique or anybody in your crew, even when you haven't afforded me the same. So like, again, don't come on here. People are starting to pop up now. Everybody who I've criticized is now popping up. This isn't about you. Okay, Javon, message me after this. Message me. I'm sorry, there's too many people coming at me. So yeah, again, this is too much drama, and this was supposed to be something constructive, and it got turned into freaking soap opera. I'm sorry, everybody. This is not what I intended this live to be. For the popcorn people, I guess you're happy. But yeah, I'm going to close this video because, again, the message is this. Respect. Respect yourself, respect others. Hold yourself accountable to respect yourself and respect others, and hold people in your spheres of influence accountable as well. If people would do this, there would be no racism. There would be no rape culture. There would be no disrespect. There would be no problem with certain people feeling not included. It's all about respect. But first, it's got to start with you respecting yourself, and then it's got to start with you respecting people around you, right? I've been practicing this for years. It's not easy. It's something, and it's especially difficult to respect people who don't respect you. But if you're going to be a leader, and I'm talking about organizers now, organizers need to be the leaders. We need to set the example. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Anyone who sets an example, takes a stand, you're now a leader. Once you become a leader, you have to hold yourself accountable to keep on acting according to those principles, to keep on setting that example. And sometimes, yes, you're going to fall short. Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to go left, right? Like I almost did. My wife and my mother were disrespected. But ultimately, people in your spheres of influence are looking to you as an example. And that's whether you're an organizer, instructor, or just a social dancer with integrity who stood up and set an example. Don't let your people down. So yeah, again, this conversation has been taken left by people who really have never come on and commented on anything I've ever done, but now they're commenting. Why? I'll let you guys think about that. Until next time, good people, thank you for joining this very interesting live about how to combat rape culture from organizers and how to hold them accountable. I hope you guys have learned something from this video. If you like it, share it. I may delete the video with all the trash on it in a while because this is just ridiculous. But yeah, I'll take you guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Y'all be safe. Quality, integrity, inclusion, fun. If you're about that, get at me. If you're not, well, it's nice knowing you. Till next time, peace.